world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just too little of. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, but for everyone. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum coming to you live from KSCO Radio. Really happy to be here. It's a nice overcast day here in Santa Cruz for those of you that are living somewhere else, but we're really happy to have you tune into the show with us today. You know, it's always kind of a funny thing as I'm thinking about the show, what I want to go over, and usually it's in the morning, I'm sitting in bed, drinking my coffee, thinking about what I want to talk about, and that was the case today. And I started thinking about Ben Franklin. You know, Ben Franklin was a pretty amazing person, and I came across this thing on why he is on the $100 bill. And so I looked up, why is Ben Franklin's face on the $100 bill? And mainly the reason is because he came from basically a life of nothing. He had nothing in his history, and he became one of the greatest men of his times, one of the greatest inventors, politicians. You know, his work on the Constitution, and flew a kite with a key on it to prove that the electricity was going. What? Oh shoot! I'm sorry. Oh, sorry about that. I didn't have my my stuff turned on. David just came in and told me. So I'll start over again. Hello, this is Dr. Duncan McCollum. I'm very happy to be here. Sorry about that, Dave. And so what I was talking about is, you know, what I like to do every show is try to pick something that has happened during the week, or I've seen with my patients or people or in life. And I was thinking about, you know, motivational subjects today. And I was looking up Benjamin Franklin for a little while. And I came across an interesting quote, which is, why Ben Franklin is on the $100 bill. And I kind of got curious about that. And so it ends up because he came from basically a very, very poor family. And he grew up to be one of the greatest people of his time. You know, he was a diplomat, huge part with the Revolutionary War by working with France to get them to help us. And, you know, he flew a kite with a key on it and all kinds of amazing things. But I do have some quotes from him today, and I thought I would go over some of those because, you know, it is always a great thing to be able to learn from, you know, other people's lot in life, other people who have walked before us, and also learn from things that we have endeavored in our life. And I'm going to sidestep for a minute because there's a quote from Kurt Vonnegut that I came across today that says, you learn about life by the accidents you have over and over again. And I thought that was kind of interesting because, you know, so many times in our life we're hard-headed. It takes us a little while to sort things out so that we can actually become who we want to be. And hopefully that goal of who you want to be continues to grow. I really don't like just being comfortable in my, staying in my comfort zone. For me, I'm restless. And oftentimes I'll wake up really early in the morning and my brain is going so fast. I actually just have to get out of bed and do stuff. And what's worked for me is rather than staying, you know, trying to sleep. Sometimes it might be 2 a.m. I have learned that it's better to get up and do something, and then I'll get tired because I sit there or lie there in bed with all these thoughts going through my head. And then if I get up and put my energy towards something, I actually accomplish things, but then I end up getting tired and I get a couple more hours sleep. So just a thought about that. I've been kind of quoting that song that Frank Sinatra is famous for, where he says, I've been a pauper, a pawn, a pauper, a poet, a pawn, and a thief, a king and a thief, or whatever it goes. And I really appreciate that, because so many times throughout the day, I might wear all of those hats. I should write down the words because I forget about them when I'm on the air. But, those of you that have listened to me for a while know that I always like to try to talk about gratitude, things that, people that might have impressed you in your life, created thoughts that drove you forward or stopped you from going where you shouldn't have gone. And I really appreciate that gratitude. I want to show gratitude for those people. And I often talk about the thought that you never know how far a small act of kindness might go. And when that actually comes to the person that needs to hear it that day, how important it is. So I want to just mention something that happened Friday morning at my office. I got in a little before 8 o'clock to start treating people. And, having gone through that spectrum of up and down since I woke up in the morning, and there was some things going on that actually could have tainted my day one way or another. And one of my staff members, Emily at the front desk, says, "Here, Dr. McCollum, you better read this before you start your day." And she handed me an envelope. And I thought, okay, what's it going to be? Because, sometimes rather than think about the good things to come, no matter how much we try, you always wait for the other foot to drop. And so what I'm going to talk about today are a few different things. I want to talk about Benjamin Franklin. I want to talk about the 3 different types of tears that we have, because, each of those tears have different characteristics in them. And it's really important to be able to feel your emotions and not shy back from them, because when you do, it stifles you and it can hold you back. So at any rate, I'm getting ready to go to work. I had some pressing matters on my mind, and this letter was handed to me. And I don't know the person that brought it in. I don't even know her name because I can't read her signature at the bottom. And I hope she doesn't mind if she's listening, but I'm going to read it because, sometimes you need this, and this is a day I needed this. So, you never know how far reaching a small act of kindness may go. So thank you, Anonymous. It says, "Dear Dr. McCollum and team, thank you so much for what you do to help heal people and bring them information and inspiration. I am beyond encouraged and uplifted by what I have heard on your radio program. You've given me hope that there are still decent and conscientious people in the world. Thank you for standing up for what is right. I appreciate your gratitude for life and for sharing that with others. Your openness and honesty in telling your story has meant a lot to me. Thank you for being you." And that was really nice, because, here I'm on a Saturday, 1 o'clock, ready to just say things for myself and say things for those who want to hear, because you never know how far reaching a small act of kindness might go. And thank you very much, whoever gave me this letter, because it really meant a lot to me. And I appreciate that so much. And it actually brought tears to my eyes. One of my staff members who handed it to me saw me as I stood there, with tears in my eyes, going, wow, how nice of this person to bring this in out of her way. And, I still don't know who she is, but I really appreciate her. So I kind of thought about what I have been focusing on over the last many months. And, there's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot of conflicts in different countries, conflicts in our country, one sect of people being pitted against another, unrest everywhere. And sometimes I do the misfortune, or to myself, by listening or watching this stuff, and it just upsets me. And I know that I do need to be aware of what's going on in the world. No doubt we all need to be responsible for what's going on so we can help guide our country and the world towards a more sane, kind, loving place. And that's why I played Burt Bacharach's song, sung by Tom Jones, "What the World Needs Now is Love, Sweet Love." That's just something there's just too little of. And corny as it might be, it's really true that we do need to focus on caring for each other a little bit more. But I thought about the tears because I'd seen the science on this before, and I thought, well, it'd be kind of interesting to talk about. There are 3 different types of tears. And I'll tell you why I bring this up in a minute. Well, I will now, actually. Silly enough, I've been watching some of the America's Got Talent and England's Got Talent and British's Got Talent stuff. And, these amazing artists from all ages get up on stage, some shaking like a leaf, some scared to death, from age old to 9, 10, 11 years old. And you see this incredible talent come out of these people, and it's like, wow, this is great. This is what we should be focusing on, is the talent of the individual around us, because you never know who they are. This young girl today, 12 years old, was playing the ukulele and wrote a song that she sang or created. It was just a miracle of what she did. And Simon Cowell said, wow, I think you might be the next Taylor Swift. She'll be herself. But just the fact that the talent is coming out. And I really want us, because it brings tears to my eyes. I'm sitting there, with tears rolling down my face. My girlfriend looks over at me and goes, "Are you crying?" I go, "Yeah, this is amazing. It's beautiful what's happening." So I want to talk about the tears because they're so important. So the basic tear is an essential element for the eye. It covers the tear. It covers the tear layer on the surface of the eyeball, and then consistently flows away down the passageways behind the nose. We can't feel this tear because it's only very minimally exists. When you blink every 4 to 5 seconds, basic tears are created to help maintain the moist condition of the eyes, as well as leave the tears on the eyeball in order to protect the eyes. So those are going on constantly. Then there's reactive tears. These are the reactive tear is literally the tear that is reacting over some kind of stimulation. It's easy to understand this if you can imagine yourself shedding tears when cutting an onion or when some little piece of dust penetrates your eyes. Reactive tears form defensive systems to protect the eye from the outside stimuli. At the same time, it reinforces the function of as disinfection or your immune system. So those are 2 of the tears, and they're very understandable. The third tear is the emotional tear. The emotional tear is a tear that only exists in human beings. Feelings such as joy, anger, sorrow, and pleasure create tears, and this phenomenon cannot be found from animals. Now, I may take exception for that in a minute, but it is a privilege of humans. Therefore, we can consider that the tears resulting from emotions implicate high level of blind following in humans. Okay? So the taste of the emotional tears. Emotional tears are differentiated from other kinds of tears by their content. They contain more epinephrine and norepinephrine, which are known to be stress hormones, than other tears. Therefore, emotional tears have denser concentration of sodium, which is why it stings a little bit when you are shedding emotional tears. You are more likely to rub your eyes, which actually makes the moisture element of the organic liquid to emerge from the capillary vessels inside the eyelid, making your eyes to swell. This is why after weeping out emotional tears, we are likely to swell up and get bloodshot eyes. Now, we surely know that emotional tears are salty. So it's kind of interesting. There's another part of this that I wanted to look at. The different types of emotional tears. There's the sad or angry tears happen to be a little more salty, and because the hormones that are created when you're crying or when you're having an emotional tears, the different hormones, whether they're the feel-good hormones or the stress hormones or the sad hormones, the anger hormones are more, your tears are more bitter, and then the happy hormones, your tears are more sweet. How unusual, how strange is that? But the reason I bring this up is because so many of us are we're withholding our emotions because of what's going on in the world. And oftentimes we don't reach out because we're afraid to. These are the soft emotional tears, whether you shed them or not. But you might feel empathy towards somebody, like this person who brought me this letter. You know, that was amazing, and I was so happy that she took time out of her day to do that, because it's special, you know, for her to do that for me, to feel that gratitude and or acknowledgement of being here and being willing to take a stand and talk about, you know, my understanding of health in the world and what we need to do to improve health, both mentally, all three, mentally, physically, and chemically. So at any rate, I think it's important for us to take this as a lesson and really appreciate people more for who they are, and take a minute to reach out to somebody that you haven't talked to for a while. You know, I mean, obviously this woman went out of her way to come by my office and drop that off. She didn't have to, but she felt like a small act of kindness might go a long way, and it did. So I would like to ask all of you to do something along this line. Make a point today or this weekend of showing gratitude to somebody that you care about. You never know when they're ready, because they might be a pauper. I wish I could, a puppet, a puppet, a pawn, something, and a thief and a king, however it goes. But we are the thief of our own success. Our own mind is probably the worst thief we have on destroying our desires and our ability to create. First, we have a thought, I want to do something. Then we have an immediate thought saying, no, why would you think that you could do that? What makes you think that you might be able to do that? And this is so good. I would ask you, just for a exercise, to get online if you know, or find some way to get online if you have a hard time getting on there, and watch a few of these people on something like America's Got Talent or something, and just look at the people and the fears they overcome and the challenges. Some of these guys, a 35-year-old guy shaking like a leaf, he worked 2 jobs a day, and he got up there and sang something that knocked the roof off of the place. But the guts to do that. They asked him, why have you held this voice prisoner for so many years? And he said, because people said I'd come up and embarrass myself. And the judges said, who said that? You know, who said that? Who said that to you? Who said that you couldn't go out and create right now? And I just want to encourage people to do that. I finally had the fortune of finding a new editor. My old editor, Tony Seaton, retired a few years ago, and I'm so glad that you know, I finally found somebody who's through Upwork, And he's going to republish my second edition of my book. Thank you, Mariah, it's too late. The second edition of my book, Turn Back Your Biological Clock. There's all updated. It will be out hopefully in about a month. So I'm so excited because by getting that out, I have my next book coming out, which is in the New Hope series, probably in about 2 to 3 months. And I'm so excited. It's done. I'm not going to tell you the title yet, but I'm happy that there is some place to send it so I can get it up, get it published on Amazon. And that opens the door to 3 more books, a couple of them half done, that I can start to write now because I was stifled because the drain was clogged. So anyway, I'm very grateful that Mariah, who just came on to try to help me with my password, was able to get me in touch with this person. But it was a struggle. I've been trying to find a new editor for at least 6 to 8 months. And how much energy can I put into it when I'm trying to take care of my practice and my patients and my staff and my family and, you know, my girlfriends and girlfriend and all of that kind of stuff, and also keep my health there. So, you know, I'm just working this out. And I think it's important for all of us to know, you know, it's not going to ever be perfect. I mean, what did Kurt Vonnegut say here? I'm going to read that quote again if I can find it. He said, "You learn about life by the accidents you have over and over again." And, you know, none of us are learned, you know, the first time very well. If you do, it might be glibly, but you learn by doing, not by understanding. You know, actually, true understanding comes once you comprehend the subject or whatever it is that you're trying to do, and you put it into action. So action really is the key to demonstrate understanding. You can know all about something. You can know all about tractors, but never be able to drive one because you haven't ever seen one in the steel. So my take-home message today, I think, is dare to dream, dare to express emotion, shed tears for things that are awesome for yourself, for those that you know. But more importantly, I can't tell you what to do, but go out there and show gratitude. I'll tell a kind of a funny story. I have mentioned going to restaurants before, and some of the service that I got there. And there's one particular place I go to quite a bit. And I'm going to tell the story again when I go in there and this young lady who's working there is sitting off to the side on her cell phone, and I'm standing at the counter wanting to order. She finally looked up at me, you know, with, you know, that I was interrupting her, and came over and said, "Yeah." I go, "Well, I would like a blah, 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 blah." She goes, "Okay, X amount of money," gave her my credit card, handed my receipt, and said nothing. I went, okay, well, I've learned not to say anything either, just as a test. So I went and sat down. Pretty soon she brought me my meal. And now, granted, I've been in there enough time to know that this was somewhat repeated, but granted, she could have been on one of those swings throughout the day when you're, you know, a pauper, a poet, a pawn, a thief, or a king. So she might have been down on a downswing, and I need to be aware of that as well. But at one point, when she brought the food, I said, "Hey, do you like working here?" She goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Well, you know, it'd be nice to show it." And I said, "I don't mean that in a bad way. You're in the service business. It'd just be nice to show that." So I left it at that. And what was really interesting, I went in this week. I haven't seen her in a while, and it could have nothing to do with that encounter. But when I went up to see her this time, she was very friendly, and she says, "Oh, hi, nice to see you. What can I do for you?" And I told her what I wanted, and she was very gracious, and I got enough service. I gave her a very nice tip. And because I think people need to be rewarded, and I love to reward people, and money's not the only way to do it. But, you know, for the fact that she realized that I was somebody that she was going to serve. And, you know, help is one of those things that it's like one of the highest things that you can do is help somebody else. Offer help. And do it without expecting any kind of recognition and or recoupment, whatever the word is. So anyway, one thing that I really appreciate about this lady that brought this letter into me this week is that I don't even know who she is because I can't read her signature, but the acknowledgement went a long way to help me at a time I really needed to hear that. And, you know, we kind of look at each other and there's a guard up, and you just never, you always think the person, take them for face value. They always have that face value. You don't realize where there might be in the spectrum of their life or the emotion that second, because it literally changes a lot. And if you know what I mean, say right on. If not, then I think you do anyway. But so I'm just going to go through some of the quotes from Benjamin Franklin that I found today. And remember, he's the guy on the $100 bill. And you wonder, how come he's on the $100 bill? And because it demonstrated that he went from, you know, a very, very poor beginning with his family to becoming one of the greatest men of his time. And here's one of his quotes, and this is out of Poor Richard's Almanac, which is one of his writings. But he says, "A true friend is the best possession." And, you know, that's really kind of interesting. A true friend is the best possession, because you never really know how true friends are till maybe when the times are rough. But these are the ones that just happen to sense that you might need to hear from them. So, you know, or the ones that stand by you when you're out there with your, you know, back against the wall, knowing that it's time to either cash it in or push forward with your goals because you know they're true. Again, I think about this 35-year-old quiet, nervous man, scared to death, who got up there and sang and ended up getting the golden buzzer. If you watch any of that show ever, I recommend you watch it now and then, because to see everything that's going on in the world that can be considered negative, and then to see what life is really, you know, should be, which is achieving those things and those accomplishments that really create the emotional response of, you know, this amazing things that you want to accomplish. And we should all be reaching for that. You know, when you don't have dreams or goals, then life is boring. And I'll tell you, I meant to tell you about this day that I think it was Friday that I got this card. We get a lot of positive comments about our service at our office. You know, we get lots of good reviews, and then occasionally we get bad reviews. You know, I mean, we're not going to be there for everybody. I'm very happy to say that the good ones far exceed the bad ones. But this particular day, that night, I had read 2 poor reviews for our office. And I won't go into the details because I could, you know, easily justify why what happened. But, you know, obviously we weren't the right office for these 2 people. And, or I need to up our game, which is what I first intend to do, is where did we miss the mark here? But, you know, it's like a knock on the chin. It pulls you down a few notches. And then, you know, in the throes of having this really nice acknowledgement, getting those 2, I went, wow, we're at both ends of the spectrum here. What the heck? But, you know, it comes to mind that I heard a quote, and I mentioned it last week, by Grant Cardone, and I don't know where he got it, but it says, if you haven't been disappointed or uncomfortable with your game, you're not playing hard enough. You're not playing big enough. You're not setting your sights high enough. Because if everything that you want to achieve in life just kind of plots along and plugs along, and there's never any highs or lows, then that could be fine for you. But if you really want to see what you could achieve in this life, you've got to expect the downside. Or if you're really motivated on a purpose in life, and then you're going to do the best you can to help as many people as you can, because I think help or to serve is one of the highest qualities there is, then you will blunder. And if you don't, you're not playing hard enough. And that was a quote that came to mind. Of course, we never want that to happen, but oftentimes some of my friends that have made huge numbers of people on social media, the way that those numbers skyrocket is because there's some kind of diversity on their site. Somebody will say something and then everybody will start arguing back and forth, but it draws excitement. And the numbers build and build and build, so the controversy builds. But isn't it interesting that it's the willing to demonstrate adversity is what draws attention. So that's the nature of our beast, I guess. And but I think that if we were to get out of that emotional moment, and which is a reactive moment, one of my coaches always used to say, whenever somebody says something, practice counting to 4 before you respond. Because the knee-jerk response may not be really what you intended, but kind of what your reactive being just threw out. And it didn't really achieve anything other than create more animosity. So I think it's really important to really get a clear vision of what your intentions are for the moment or for the day. And again, I think that if you just consider gratitude, being grateful, showing gratitude, then you are going to have a better day. You just are. By being grateful, appreciating the 10 things that you're grateful for, showing gratitude to the first 10 people you meet, you're going to create the right kind of hormones in your body, the serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin, and all those great things that are going to make you feel better and make others feel better too. The other kind of emotions are the stress hormones, the cortisol, the adrenaline, and these things that really are very harmful to the body. They create a lot of inflammation in the body, and that inflammation can damage joints. People that are angry typically have more arthritis because the joints are inflamed all the time. And so it's remember, there's 3 aspects of health: physical, chemical, and emotional. Now, what's really interesting is if you think about physical, like chiropractic, you have an egg and a sperm come together, and you have a stem cell that splits into 75 trillion cells, all of them with a nerve telling them what to do. You cause damage to the physical nerve, it's going to affect the function of that cell, organ, or system in the body. And that will, if that interference isn't removed, that will cause all kinds of problems. And the second is the chemistry, which is biochemistry, all of the hormones, all of the substances that your body makes in creating life. And it takes energy, like from glucose, sugar, or fat, ketones, and turns that into energy. And then that energy is, as it is being used by the body, toxic exhaust is formed, and that toxic exhaust, basically, if it doesn't get out of your body, it's going to make you sick. So we have the chemistry made by our own body, then we have the chemistry of the environment with 250 billion pounds of toxins dumped into it. We get 4 generations of heavy metals and molds into us through mom's umbilical blood. And so the chemical part is huge on allowing us to be and feel good. Then the emotional part, of course, probably is the biggest component because thought monitors function. And this is the key to practicing gratitude, because thought monitors function. And if you wake up and watch all of the negative news or participate in things that aren't moving forward but only pushing one side, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't have an opinion, you should, but we should always work towards resolution with as many of the peoples of Earth involved as we can. Now, we all believe in right and wrong, and we all believe that we're right and they're wrong for the most part, but we are in a free world, and we have to be able to make room for each other without allowing harm to come to the greatest number of people. So, but the chemistry is really important. So one thing we can do is show gratitude. You never know how far-reaching a small act of kindness will go. So those are the 3 parts of health: mental, emotional, or spiritual, you could call it, physical, and chemical. So when we look at some more Benjamin Franklin's quotes here, let's see. How active are you? What do you do in a day? How do you look at a day? Do you look at it as just 24 hours from can see to can't see? Or do you look at it as an opportunity to live? Here's one of his quotes: "Lost time is never found again." So, I'm 68 years old. I've lived more years than I'm going to live in the future. I plan on living into my 90s. Hopefully I'll be healthy and have a bright mind and a healthy body, but things happen. Something could happen to me tomorrow. But what have I done, or what am I doing right now? It doesn't matter what I've done, really, because really what matters is what you're doing right now. So I highly recommend that you take a look at what you're doing today. And one thing you can do is put out positive mental attitudes towards other people. Here's another one: no gain without pains. And that pain can be mental or physical, or chemical. You could be out there working in the fields or something and being exposed to chemicals that can harm your body. But again, if you're not failing occasionally, you're not trying hard enough. Thomas Edison failed 9,999 times to make a light bulb. And thank God he tried one more time, or we'd be living in the dark. And then here's another quote he said: "When you're good to others, you're best to yourself." And very interesting, you go out and take the time to help other people. It makes you a better person, makes you feel better, as long as you're doing it for the right purpose. Let's see what else. Haste makes waste. Interesting. Search for others' virtues, thyself for thy vices. Interesting. Search for others' virtues, thyself for thy vices. So he's saying, look for the good in people, and also always take a look to see how you can improve. And, that's great. We can all do that, but we're not going to do it every second of every day because we're human beings. But as long as you have a goal in mind and just keep correcting towards that goal or those goals, you're likely to be happier. And so I just want to make sure that I do that. I know that I have my ups and downs every day. Wish not so much to live long, but to live well. And what does living well mean to you? Is it having all the money you want and all the toys you want, or is it living a life where people look at you and you are loved because of what you do to help other people? This is a good one. Love your enemies, for they tell you your faults. So No doubt people that are against you are going to tell you why. And those faults will be, in their eyes, are all you are. So, just remember that you're much greater than what your faults may or may not be. And you can even bring them out better by making sure that you're focusing on some goals and helping other people. Let's see. He that fails in love with himself will have no rivals. He that falls in love with himself will have no rivals. Interesting. Let's see. He that lies down with dogs shall rise up with fleas. Interesting. He that lies down with dogs shall rise up with fleas. When you take a look at what's going on in the world today, there's a lot of sides. A lot of people are on different sides. One thing that I've found to be true is that usually in conflicts, one side pitted against the other, there's usually somebody else, a bigger motivation that happens to be throwing out propaganda to pit one person against the other. And so often we see this in life where all of the news goes to one big type of thing. And, as long as you can distract people into focusing on the house that's on fire, they can sneak in and rob the houses that are not being guarded. So we really are at a time in our life right now where there's some big forces on all sides moving. And it's very important for us to figure out the virtues of the correct ones and the freedom of the people. The individual person is, that's very important that we pay attention to that. So he that lies down with dogs shall rise up with fleas. So don't be wearing your fleas. Lie down with the people that want to help other people and have just causes in this country or the world. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people with just causes with different opinions, and until we learn to communicate better, we're going to have a hard time. But there's a lot of stuff going on. 90% of all the stuff going on, in my opinion, is because of misunderstandings of communication and or a third person or group or a motivated group of people trying to create disorder so that they can get more themselves. It's unfortunate, but that's the way some of the evil people of the world try to conquer the rest of us. Better slip of foot than tongue. So just watch what you say. Care for other people. You never know how far-reaching an act of kindness might go, but you also never know how far-reaching a terrible slanderous comment may go. The bullying and this kind of stuff. So, interesting. Look before or you'll find yourself behind. Don't throw stones at your neighbors if you own windows or glass. If your own windows or glass. Interesting. He who would live in peace and at ease must not speak all he knows or judge all he has. So, well done is better than well said. That's a really good one. Well done is better than well said. These are quotes by Benjamin Franklin, and he's on the $100 bill because of what he did in his life and where he started and where he ended up. So I just wanted to give tribute to him today. Well done is better than well said. And actions speak louder than words goes along with that. So many well-spoken people out there, and they can lull you or woo you with their words and leave a wake of disaster behind them. So statistics really speak to whether the actions and the actions behind those words were for the greatest good for the world or not. So just take a look at people with forked tongue or something like that. Look at their actions, not their words. And if we were all willing to do that, I think we would pay a lot more attention to those whose actions are creating a better planet for us. This is a good one too. What you seem to be really. So, in other words, if you're, and this is kind of funny because, we're all in this world today where we're on the internet a lot, and you see all these different, I guess they're called reels of people and what they're doing in their life or how they're presenting themselves, and you just wonder if that's the way they really are. And myself included, I'm on here talking on the radio, and I try to live my thoughts as much as I can, but sometimes I don't. And but what you seem to be really. And I think that as long as we strive for that, that's great. But we have to realize what it is we want to be. Maybe we haven't taken enough time in the last month or year or several years or week to really kind of go, where am I heading? What is it that I want to achieve this year? How many people am I going to affect, and how am I going to do that? Anyway, that's kind of the Benjamin Franklin quotes that I came across today. And we have talked in the last several weeks about the Dr. Papa program, which I'm very happy to be starting Monday. We have several people signed up for it now. It's probably too late to start with us, but anybody who wants to get involved in that, you can always call the office, 831-459-9990. This is an amazing chance to be involved with Dr. Dan Papa's Fix the Cell to Get Well program, because when you think about chemistry and energy, that comes from a healthy body. Healthy mind, healthy body, healthy nervous system. We are the sickest country in the industrialized world because we are exposed to so many chemicals, for one, and also when we look at the conflicts in the world, that isn't helping our chemistry because of the emotions that it creates. And you can go a long way to start to create better emotions yourself by looking at things that are pleasing. And that's why I recommend, it doesn't have to be American Idol or anything like that, but look at stuff that creates positive emotion for you. Sweet tears. I was talking about the 3 types of tears, how angry tears and fearful tears are salty and bitter, and how sweet tears are happy tears are sweet. And so, just consider allowing your emotions to go up and down, and strive to get yourself to a point where you're feeling the emotions. You can do this by admiring beautiful things, admiring something beautiful about a person, even though it might be hard to see it right off the bat. But if you look deep enough, you'll find it. And by nurturing that, you're going to help create in that person something that is lying dormant. I'll give you an example of the world, right? In the last several years, a few years, we've had horrendous rains all over the California and in the deserts. And what do those horrendous rains reap? A super bloom of wildflowers that may be dormant in the desert for decades, if not centuries. But when you water and fertilize a seed enough, it can bloom into a beautiful thing. So all these people that we know who are walking around doing a 40-hour-a-week job or more, or not working, or living their life, what if we gave them some emotion, positive emotion, and kindled in them something greater? I wish I could live my own words, because there's times in my life where every day where I should be doing this with some people and or more. And we have a tendency to gravitate towards those people that we are more alike. So, one thing in a practice, where I have hundreds of people coming in, there are basically 4 different types of people. There's that amiable, quiet person. There's that expressive person that's always loud and funny and having a great time. There's the analytical person, and then the driver type person. And we all have those traits in us, but we're predominant in some of them in different areas of our life. Different ones come out. But we have a tendency to gravitate towards the ones that we're alike. And I challenge you this week to find somebody that you would not normally say hi to, whether at work or at a place that you shop. You just kind of look at them and there's a quietness because there's nothing in common there. And I have my staff do this. Find somebody that's less like your personality and challenge yourself to go and greet that person or say hi to that person. And you'll be surprised. Sometimes, again, it might be that thing that they needed to hear that day. Maybe they're quiet because they're being a pauper or a pawn that week. Maybe they've been in a situation that is, very, very unpleasant for them and life damaging to them. And that's why that they're not approachable. Maybe every time they've reached out, they've had their hands slapped. So sometimes you think it's you, but oftentimes it's because of what's gone on in their life, and you're picking up on that. So you can easily go out and make a gesture, and don't feel bad if you don't get a response. You're a bigger person being by yourself for doing it, and be willing to expect or to accept people to ignore you or dismiss you. But remember that you are only as great as you believe and as your reach is out there in the world. I don't know where that quote came from. I just said it. But, and then you learn how to do things better. What's Kurt Vonnegut said, you learn about life by the accidents you have over and over again. But don't stop having accidents. Don't stop trying to challenge the world. Don't stop trying to do new things because somebody's told you you'll make a fool out of yourself, or somebody said you're no good. Just watch something. Like I've been the last few weeks watching American Idol. I don't watch it all the time, but when I watch it, I go, wow, look at this 12-year-old girl, just an Olympic voice, or this 35-year-old man, bellowing, beautiful being who's been stifled inside his own skin because of he's allowed to have done to him. So we need to learn how to be better people. And so anyway, we'll see you around the office. If you have peripheral neuropathy, you should definitely come in and let us help you. We're getting great results with that. You can still talk to us about the Pampa program. And we're going to go out in a couple minutes with What the World Needs Now by Burt Bacharach, sung by Tom Jones. Sorry about the false start today, and I hope I made some sense. Appreciate you all. Thank you. What the world needs now.